Hey governors, I'm not smart because guess what I believe in? That's right, giant naked apes roaming through the woods and the devil being born as a goat thing in New Jersey for some reason. Screw you, science! Cryptids, those weird Bigfoot things science just refuses to acknowledge. Cryptids are another one of the weird things I was into when I was younger. I used to play the cryptid theme island on Pop Tropica so much like it gave me life. Cryptids aren't really hard to explain, just creature things that we technically have no proof for. This could cover a ton of things, such as general cryptids like the Chupacabra and New Jersey Devil, aquatic creatures like the Kraken or Loch Ness Monster, or just a bunch of cryptids that are basically just different versions of Bigfoot like the Yeti and Skunk Ape. With the countless amount of cryptids there are, I obviously can't talk about every single one to exist without making this video at least 6 hours long. Even though I'll be down to do that. But I will at least try to talk about the ones that I find the most interesting at least, and have some stuff that I could actually talk about. Do you know how hard it is to write an entire section on the British Big Cat? And no, before somebody comments it, this doesn't count creepypastas, even if they present themselves as cryptid-like beings. So no, I won't be talking about things like Slenderman or Siren Head today. They're a discussion for another time. I'm just here for silly things like the Mothman. So let's not waste any more time, let's talk about random creatures now. There's no better place to start a discussion like this than with Bigfoot. You know, the cryptid people still can't seem to decide whether it's actually real or just somebody's buddy in the best brunkie suit they can find. Yeah, it's pretty weird because despite Bigfoot arguably being the most famous cryptid ever, it appears that their existence is still widely debated, but I guess that's why they're so popular. It's fun to see whether the footage you find could be legitimate and actually good evidence of Bigfoot, or the worst CGI of an ape you've ever seen. But what is Bigfoot? You click on a video about cryptids and don't know what a Bigfoot is? Seriously though, Bigfoot, or a Sasquatch as some people may want to put him, is basically just a giant human-like ape with big feet. That's basically it really, but screw it, I really like talking about this. I know that Bigfoot is the most simple cryptid possible and there isn't much to him, but I don't know, it's just fun to talk and think about. And no, I'm not into Bigfoot in the Quentin Tarantino kind of way, I just really like big hairy monkey men. I don't think there's much more to say about Bigfoot that isn't just a debate on whether he's real or not, whether that be in real life or in GTA. So, do I believe in Bigfoot? I probably don't realistically, but I just like to think he's real out there. It's too interesting for me not to want it to be real. There's also slightly different versions of Bigfoot that exist, like the Yeti, which is just the whitewashed version of Bigfoot, and the Yowie, which comes from Australia just like Steve Irwin, which means he must be cool. I have nothing new to add to those two cryptids that I didn't already talk about with the original Bigfoot, but I just wanted to give them a shout out. Now, do you guys want to sort of talk about the media relating to Bigfoot? I mean, I might as well now, because when else would I? I think there's a bit too much Bigfoot media for me to talk about all of them, and I don't think anybody is demanding me to talk about things like the movie Bigfoot Family, so I'll just talk about a couple. Several people watch normal shows like Ghost Adventures, but I was more of a finding Bigfoot person myself. I mean, they never truly found Bigfoot, and I doubt that 99% of their footage would be able to convince anybody that Bigfoot is real. But honestly, I remember more of those clips than I'm happy to admit in front of anybody. I also found out while researching for this video that the series somehow ended in 2018, which is a lot sooner than I expected. This is the most 2011 show ever, how did it get that close to the 2020s? Wait, there was a singular episode released in 2021, meaning that Finding Bigfoot did sort of live on past 2020. How? There is also Killing Bigfoot, which exists as a miniseries for some reason. I never watched Killing Bigfoot, but that would go well with the other Killing Cryptid piece of media I love. Also, does Harry and the Henderson thing exist? I don't know what this is, but I'm horrified. So, before I watch any more of that, any sane person should, let's move on to other cryptids. Now, on to the Loch Ness Monster. I know what you're saying. DGB, you've never even been close to Scotland. How can you talk about their culture like it's something you know? Well, first off, I do know more about Scotland than you think. They're the country where you can wear funny skirts and play bagpipes while getting scammed by a man dressed as an off-brand Willy Wonka. But also, second off, shut up, let me have this. But anyways, the Loch Ness Monster, or Nessie, which is the name I will keep using from this point on, is known as a big, long-necked dinosaur thing that haunts the Loch Ness in Scotland. The first known sighting of Nessie goes back to the 7th century, which is insane to me, from a saint named, I can't pronounce that. Apparently, the sky was attacked by a giant water beast in the river Ness, and now people who believe in Nessie view that as the first ever sighting of them. Yeah, there's no way I actually believe that happened. I love this type of story, but that just seems so fake to me where I can't even process it as a real historical event. But I do find it very cool at least, even if it isn't really realistic. That's probably how I view Nessie in general, honestly, where I don't believe in any of the stories or images of them, but it is at least very interesting to think about at least. It is just a creature on a lake, but like, it's basically a dinosaur on a lake, and dinosaurs are awesome! I don't really have much more to say about Nessie besides just how happy I am that the legend exists, even if I don't really believe in it. Maybe if I did live near Loch Ness, I would have so much more to say, and maybe I would even film the section and edit, honestly. But I can't, so I'm sorry to my Scottish viewers. Even though I doubt there's many of you. Do I have nothing more to add besides Nessie's cameo and Earthbound being cool? That's pretty nice. Also, fun thing, I was originally going to do a full section about the Kraken right after the Loch Ness Monster, since I guess that technically counts as a cryptid and it would be nice to do two aquatic ones right next to each other. But I don't have much to say about the Kraken to justify a full section on it. Yeah, I think it's cool, but I have nothing to add to the discussion of them besides maybe a reference to Pirates of the Caribbean. So let's just move on. Okay, so now on to the Chupacabra. But before we get into this, I just want to say that I myself am not from Puerto Rico or Mexico, nor am I Hispanic or anything like that. So if I accidentally say something that may be offensive, wrong, or pronounce any names in this section wrong, I am so sorry. I'm just a stupid American man. I think Olive Garden and Burger King are top tier food. Please don't kill me. If you are wondering why I'm still talking about the Chupacabra, then if I'm so worried about being offensive, I just feel like I have to. I feel like at worst, the Chupacabra is still within the top 5 most popular cryptids out there. So how could I not talk about them in a cryptids video? So anyways, let's just talk about the weird wolf alien dog thing. So basically, the Chupacabra is just this beast that goes around and bites animals like chickens and goats' necks that suck their blood like a vampire. I mean, the name Chupacabra literally means goat sucker in Spanish. I was going to make a joke about the name being a little bit on the nose, as if the first cryptid we talked about today isn't named Bigfoot. But besides that, I know the Chupacabra may not seem like the craziest thing ever, but it's still a pretty cool urban legend in my opinion. A wolf vampire thing that kills livestock that isn't even 100% confirmed to be real? That's awesome! Even though it's been debated on whether or not it's true, with tons of people not believing that Chupacabra actually exists for reasons such as how different all the reported designs of the creature are, it is still interesting to think about how fun the stories could be. But speaking of the different designs of the Chupacabra, I want to talk about that. Growing up, I was always introduced to the Chupacabra as like a deranged wolf thing, but while researching for this video, the amount of images I've seen of the Chupacabra that portray them as an alien beast thing is way more than I would have suspected. With the Loch Ness Monster, all of the images and designs for them are just sea monsters with long necks. Makes sense. But with the Chupacabra, the design goes from them being an abused dog to something that Spider-Man will fight. I don't get it. But besides some weird design inconsistencies, and the fact that the main thing the Chupacabra does will probably get my comment section filled with a bunch of references to Twilight, I still think they're pretty neat.
I just think they're neat.
But just remember, if you're a farmer and own chickens, please set up a ring camera and a fence. Maybe you would actually have video proof of this happening next time something decides to kill a bunch of your animals instead of you just looking crazy. Just do something! But if you thought that one felt a bit like an urban legend, let me tell you that you know nothing yet. The New Jersey Devil. It's a cryptid that looks like this. Bro, if an entire state can't properly find something that looks like this and prove it exists, then that's on them. And are you ready to hear a wild backstory for this creature? Let's see at what point you think I'm just going insane. Okay, so apparently, there was some lady named Mother Leeds who was about to have her 13th child that she didn't want to have. Fair enough, you think you would quit by the 5th or 6th one. But then, because she didn't want to have the baby, she wished the baby to be taken away by the devil. Yes, Satan himself. So when the baby was born, he turned into a disgusting creature thing and then just flew away. Girl, if an event like that happens to you, then I think you have bigger issues than living in New Jersey, which I didn't even think was possible. So because of that, New Jersey has to deal with this horrifying thing running around it. This horrifying thing running around it. Okay, let me calm down here. I definitely know that it makes it sound like I hate the New Jersey Devil, but for real, I actually do love this beast. I do think the backstory they gave him is way too silly to be taken seriously, but come on, he's a gigantic goat thing with the wings harassing the people of New Jersey. I love that. When even a hockey team knows that you're epic, that's when you know you made it. I already joked about the likelihood that he's real, since yet again, are you seriously gonna tell me that an entire state can't find and prove the existence of this giant flying thing? Come on. I do really like the New Jersey Devil, even though I don't think he's real, which makes it sad for me when I don't think that many people care for him, and he's compared to things like Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster. Like, there aren't a million shows trying to find him like Bigfoot, and didn't go so famous that it literally taught me about a location as a kid. But hey, I still like the New Jersey Devil, even if they are probably more overshadowed by the hockey team at this point. Seriously, this isn't even in the script. You know how annoying it is to look up the New Jersey Devil and you get the hockey team instead? No hate against the team, but like, come on, it's really hard to research for this topic when you're like that. Come on, team. Okay, so if I wasn't a virgin, aka a Nintendo fan, I would know how to start this section with a Fallout reference, but no, when you say Mothman, I'm thinking of Venomoth. For real, the Mothman, despite his name, isn't a Batman villain. It's a cryptid from West Virginia that's described as a gigantic furry humanoid thing with glowing red eyes. Honestly, I think the Mothman has a really cool design, but it literally looks exactly like how a horror slasher villain that is supposed to be based off a moth should be. The design is literally too good to be true, you know? And honestly, that might be the best way to view him. Literally too cool to exist. Like, he's been associated with the Silver Bridge collapsing and other paranormal events. At least according to the film The Mothman Prophecies. You know what? No, this stuff is cool enough to think that I don't even feel like saying this stuff like according to some book anymore. Nah, I'm just gonna say it's real. Mothman definitely caused that creepy stuff to happen. Being serious, the likelihood that this beast actually does exist seems slim to me, for the reason I mentioned earlier, where it just seems a bit too good to be true and too much like an urban legend for me to believe it. But like I have said a few times before, Mothman is cool, so I'll forgive them at least. And that does seem to be how the general public seems to take him. It doesn't matter if he's real or not. Mothman is freaking cool! Point Pleasant has been holding an annual festival in honor of Mothman every September since 2002 that also has a 12-foot mechanical statue of him, which is cool as mothballs. That might be one of the worst jokes I've ever made, I'm so sorry. And they even opened a museum about the Mothman a little bit later in 2005, which is also in Point Pleasant. Honestly, some people might find this a bit overblown or annoying, but if I was in West Virginia, I would love this sort of thing too. Your state gets a mysterious beast and yeah, I'll celebrate it as well. And yeah, if it isn't obvious, Mothman, just like Bigfoot, is one of the cryptids that actually left an impact on pop culture. I mentioned him being a species of Fallout earlier, but he's also got multiple movies, tons of books, episodes of shows like The X-Files and Inside Job, and even inspired a skin in Fortnite for some reason. So yes, I'll be headshotting Hatsune Miku and Art the Clown as the Mothman from now on. But for real, I am just happy that the Mothman got in this popular. He's a silly little guy, I like seeing him in things, even if he feels a little out of place in some of them. And hey, maybe that might lead to more cryptids getting popular and appearing in very popular things and getting books about them. Where's my TV showing a Fortnite skin about the squawk? Okay, onto a cryptid that I wouldn't really be shocked if you haven't heard of before watching this video. We talked about the basic cryptid stuff like the Loch Ness Monster and the Mothman, but now we're just looking at the Knot Deer. I feel bad having the weird cryptid of this video be the Knot Deer, because this is probably going to be the most boring part of the video admittedly. I'm fully aware that this is probably going to be the worst cryptid you ever heard of, but I'm the deer person, how do you expect me not to talk about the Knot Deer? Never mind, based off that name, I guess it's the last thing I should talk about. But for real, at first glance they look like your average white-tailed deer, but they're ever so slightly off, such as slightly different proportions for a deer, eyes that don't feel natural, and apparently having weird mannerisms for a deer, such as staring blankly in the distance and showing no fear of humans. Bro, that's just exactly what happens when you have your headlights on a deer. It doesn't make them a cryptid. Honestly, from the way I've seen it described, it doesn't seem like anything insanely horrifying unless you meet it in the woods at night or something. This just seems like a different type of deer. That doesn't seem like it fits in with the other cryptids. It just feels like an alligator and crocodile situation where they're practically the same animal, just with ever so slightly different appearances and such. So like, I guess I believe in this one, but not because of me believing in any of the evidence or really being gripped upon this cryptid. But because, like, there's nothing really stopping this one from existing, and statistically speaking, it probably does. Yeah, I don't really find this one that interesting, but hey, the cryptid did lead to more fan art and discussion of deers to happen. When could I ever complain about that? And there's nothing else for me to really say about this. It's literally just a legally distinct deer. But with deer still in the name, so they're even failing at being legally distinct. Oh hey, a piece of deer horror media that sucks. That doesn't remind me of anything at all. I hate that this is the first time I talk about deers on this channel. I should definitely start working on my 2-hour video about Noelle from Deltarune. I'm so mad at myself right now. Before we get to the final cryptid of this video, I felt like I should talk about a certain group of cryptids. Well, I guess these aren't really cryptids, these are closer to mythological creatures. In this, I narrowed down to what creatures I want to talk about to just unicorns, leprechauns, trolls, and mermaids. While I personally won't consider things like mermaids cryptids, I've seen people put mythological creatures like them on cryptid icebergs and like, why not? I might as well talk about all of these now. And yes, there are technically more creatures like this, like ogres that have been considered by some as cryptids, but I do need to set a limit somewhere. Besides, I can only do so many Shrek jokes in one video, give a man a break. I don't have a crazy amount to say about any of the ones I did decide to talk about in more depth individually, besides maybe one or two. So it is better we just deal with all of these in one group. I don't think I need to explain what any of these are. We've all probably seen some things with unicorns and trolls in them like movies and video games. But unicorns are still pretty weird. They're just fruity horses with a giant spike on their forehead. That's like if there was a green cat that had a gun on its head. And trolls aren't better either. One told me to do a certain action and called me a word I cannot repeat on this video if I still want this to remain on YouTube. Despite that, mythological creatures like them are still pretty cool, I would say. I mean, I'm Irish, of course I'm gonna say that leprechauns are awesome. Just don't ask me to watch any of the leprechaun horror films, I refuse to do that. And I mean, hey, mermaids probably have the best track record of films out of all the things I'm talking about here because they have the classic Disney film. No, I haven't seen Little Mermaid 2 or 3, let me keep my innocence on all the mermaid films I have seen being good. Still, do I believe in any of these? What do you think? I like these all, but I doubt no one let unicorns on the org, and I don't think a small drunk Irishman have a better chance on being invited. For real, yeah, I honestly cannot see things such as trolls as more than just generic fictional things like goblins. I also see all the other ones such as mermaids and leprechauns as just fictional creatures. Still, even though I don't really consider any of the things I talked about in this section as cryptids, I just want to talk about them just because, hey, when else am I going to talk about things like unicorns? Okay, I'm probably going to be able to talk about leprechauns if I ever make a video about St. Patrick's Day, but that disproves my point, so please shut up. But still, I do think these are pretty cool, despite them probably not fitting the best in this video. For the final part of this video, I feel like the best thing to end on would be aliens. Yes, I made this entire video just so I could wear this shirt during this segment, thank you for asking. And no, I also don't know why this is in the Speed Racer font. I know after the last section my definition of cryptids is a bit flimsy, but I still do think aliens are close enough. So yeah, aliens could get a section in this video, screw you. And I do just want to say, even though I am talking about them now, I cannot talk about everything relating to aliens right now. Yes, I would love to talk about things like Destroy All Humans and Killer Clowns from Outer Space, which are weird alien things that I love, but unless I want to add another hour to this video, I cannot do that right now. So just so you know that if you want a solo video about aliens, I'm ready to make it. Besides, I admittedly wrote a longer section for aliens that I had to cut down for time, but don't talk about it. But yeah, aliens. I don't think I need to explain what I'm talking about, those little green guys that come from space and flying saucers. I'm not necessarily talking about life on other planets though, because even though it's still pretty cool, I don't think any of you would be interested in me possibly talking about a tree on Saturn or something like that. Whether aliens are real or not has been a talking point for centuries, and it's always interested me. If we're alone in the universe or not has always interested me, because ironically enough, I know I'm not alone in that. Otherwise, we as humans wouldn't be so into things like alien movies and UFO sightings. Yeah, if you don't think aliens are cryptids, then why are so many UFO sightings as blurry and unconvincing as most Bigfoot sightings? Checkmate, atheist. But I still do really like aliens, and even though it's obvious they probably wouldn't look exactly like how they do in movies, I still really hope they're out there somewhere. Out of all the things I talked about in this video, I think they're up there with the not deer on being the most likely to exist. Oh hey, look, the one good thing the not deer did! And yeah, my claim that aliens are probably real aren't really based on any scientific evidence or anything. It's just that statistically, I think somewhere aliens do exist. Now, if we ever meet them, I just really hope they're as friendly as E.T. or something instead of any of the aliens from Metroid like Ridley. Also, thank God I have decided to save myself from talking deeply about aliens for now at least, because then I don't have to talk about stuff like Mars needs moms. But still, I do think aliens are pretty cool. Hope they are real out there, otherwise I'll look like a total dweeb right now. Also, I just want to say a screw you to the Alien movie franchise for making looking up aliens impossible. Yeah, this goes back to earlier when I was talking about the hockey team for New Jersey Devil. It's even worse when it's the most popular franchise ever when talking about aliens. So yeah, that's all I really have to say. Just screw the Alien franchise for making research hard for this video. So, I'm finally done with this. If it isn't obvious, I'm really into cryptids, whether it's from the simple ones like Bigfoot and aliens, or the wild and unknown ones such as the Nazi or the Mogni and Deathworm, which I was going to talk about at first before I realized how much it looked like it's certain something I can't show on YouTube. I don't have much of a final statement for this. I just really wanted to talk about cryptids today a minute or two. If you ever want me to talk about this topic again, since there are a lot of more cryptids than the ones I talked about here, like the things like the Thunderbird and the Flatwoods Monster, I'll be down. It might just be a bit harder for me to do so since I've already talked about the more popular ones. Now I'm off to go into the woods to try to find Bigfoot. Have a great day.
Bigfoot, he's Bigfoot. He bathes in the water that you drink. He's Bigfoot, he's Bigfoot. So watch out 'cause he's closer than you think.